Welcome to the Dance Centre podcast. I am your host, Claire French, and I'm joining you from the traditional unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish and Tsleil-Waututh peoples, also known as Vancouver, Canada. I'll be talking to dancers, choreographers and other members of the dance world here on the West Coast to find out more about their creative work and practices and to discuss what it means to us to be dance professionals today. Thanks for joining us. Eric Cheung is a second-generation Chinese-Canadian interdisciplinary street dance artist and choreographer based in so-called Vancouver on the unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish and Tsleil-Waututh nations. Eric has cultivated a singular approach to generating movement and choreography that is recognized nationally and internationally, with his specialization in the popping style, while incorporating outside influences and other dance styles in his practice. Eric has been a company member of the OURO Collective since 2018, a street dance contemporary company. Individually, Eric explores different mediums to expand the boundaries of street dance further in various artistic forms of film, theatre, digital new media, interactive experiences and art installations. Most notably known for the international acclaim of his short film Ego, commissioned by Form in 2018, where Eric has been awarded and featured on numerous online art platforms and festivals, screened at international film festivals. He has received the Best Experimental Short at the SIFF 2023 for his recent film Infinite. Additionally, Eric has presented solo theatre works and exhibited at Place des Arts, Pacte sur le Vin, Pi Centre, La Nuit Blanche, Music Conservatoire of Montreal, Vivo, Polygon Gallery, The Vague, SFU, and Festive Access AZI. Eric has collaborated with Acronym, Assos Rog, CBC Arts, Spencer Badu, Company 605, Spy Films, Modus Operandi, and Rubber Legs. Thanks so much for joining me, Eric. Eric Cheung. We are actually being a little international in our podcast recording with me in the UK and you in Portugal, I believe.
Yeah, in Almada right now, currently.
Yeah, wonderful. So great. Well, thanks so much for joining me. So we're here to talk to you as the winner of the Isadora Award and your upcoming related production and project, and that's your connection to the Dance Centre currently. But I'd love for the listeners to hear a little bit about your journey, as is our standard practice here, but also I think it's really exciting that you're not only self-taught, you're also kind of a self-starter into the dance world. So could you give us some of your origin story?
Yeah. And thank you for having me, Claire, for the podcast. I'm excited to go deep into talking more because there's not many opportunities to do things like this. So
that's
I'm
true.
excited
it's
that
also
we're
fast.
able to. Yeah, it's super fast, or you only see the final piece and then that's it. So the more opportunities the show, the behind is always nice for those who are interested. Yeah, my dance style is street dance based. So I'm I call it the Gen Z dance upbringing of like the internet or TV or the start of the internet is where everyone, even more so nowadays, I hate to say it, but the next generation of dancers, because I feel like I'm getting to that older generation or slightly older, where I see an uptick of new dancers and new faces that I don't know, is that we just see it through online, and we go, it's simply as I want to do that, and then it's as simple as that. And then you try to mimic whatever you see and then learn about it later. So the gateway for me was a couple of TV shows like America's Best Dance Crew, YouTube. Yeah, the greatest, the best. So many legends, and it was essentially just mimicking that. And I was never supposed to dance; it was just an interest, and so there was no resources for me to even take classes. Essentially, so I would just self-taught, my teachers were not traditional in dancing, but I
Can
found
you say
that
a bit more about that?
Yeah, like it was mainly just following my interest, and like teachers from I would call it, you could call it self-taught, but then also someone is still teaching you, even if you're just watching.
Yeah, I feel like it's self-directed study, right? That might be a better way to describe it. Self-directed. Yeah, your initiative. It's all your initiative. It's not a schedule. It's up to you. You self-manage that. Yeah, great.
Totally. And then you start to suss it out a bit more, and you meet the community of the street dance world. My first upbringing was my sister actually told me to take a popping class. And I was like, no, I don't need to take a popping class because I know my stuff that I learned. But then that was very humbling. And then that led to my first battle. Lost my first battle because I thought I was going to win. But that was very humbling. Meeting the community. After that, it was a big turning point of learning by peers, not just online. And from that, the community, from any community, you just start to talk to people and start to connect. And that led me to travel more and learn from I started taking more class and private lessons. And we call it ciphering. The biggest lesson for me is ciphering when you dance with a group of 5 to 10 people in a different city, and you're just observing, and you're having this like unspoken exchange. You're talking through movement. Someone goes into the circle, and then you respond, and someone else responds, and you try to do that, but then you do it in your own way, and that's how street dance was formed. Like everyone saw something on TV, let's say like an animation, and they just try to mimic with their body, and then someone looked at that, and then they try to go back to their garage and do the same thing. And that's how all these street dance styles formed, from the music and from other people. So it's ingrained. It's so funny. Like we think like, oh, it's self-taught, it's self-directed is such a unique thing, but it's actually just street dance in a way. Literally. But now it's commercialized and everyone needs to take class. But the core of it, we learn on our own a lot.
You know what I think? I think the classes are about giving access to people who don't have the confidence or don't think they have the capacity to be able to learn it even safely on their own.
Totally.
And so there's something about I'm going to use words that completely date me, put me in my like reality check of being in my 50s. But there's an energy and a connection that they feel to the dancers who have found a way to access the material and do it themselves that they don't think they have. So they're also learning how to, approach, or how to even feel that way, in a way, I think. Totally. It comes down to that sometimes. Can I ask if the term ciphering is from technology or? No,
so ciphering is a street dance term, or a hip hop term actually, where people would do rap ciphers, and it's a dance circle.
Great.
And people just go in and out.
Yeah.
There's probably a DJ or someone's playing music. A lot of times in Calgary, I would cipher with my dance crew called Unknown Elements. We would just be in a university or outside, or it could be anywhere.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is, so your whole thing started in Calgary and then you moved to Vancouver. How did you make that decision, or was it kind of an easy one?
Yeah, so it was not an easy one. I think kind of connecting the dots, these are all kind of nice when questions connect. Dance, I think the other thing with dance was like a hidden practice for me, because I came from a very traditional upbringing. And dance education was the first thing I should be thinking about. And I actually dropped out of university business school for dance.
Okay.
After winning this battle in Vancouver.
Wow.
Called Vancouver Street Dance Festival.
Yeah.
When I went that year, I didn't even think I would make past the first round.
Whereas the first time you went into battle, you thought you would win.
Yeah.
I find that amazing. I find that connection great. Sorry, go on. I just didn't want to miss that.
No, exactly. Yeah. You start to learn about the world that's a lot bigger than just your room.
Yeah, and that move you want to perfect in your head. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then, so that was the kind of, I always wanted to leave school, but didn't have a real reason. Calgary's a bit smaller of a city and a scene in a community. So there's no real path except for teaching and maybe making a program. But that's not where I wanted to go with my dance. I didn't really know where, so battling was the only outlet really. And so battling kind of led me to that jam or that festival. And then after that, I left school and then tried to figure out, I met Michael Muachi and Christina Bucci, and I just sent a cover letter, email, resume to be apprentice for the 2018 year. And then I wrote a professional development grant to come to Vancouver, and I just made the jump to go. And I saved up money for a year after the battle. The other fun thing is that I was essentially maybe a professional badminton player before that. So I played badminton since I was 7. So I was coaching. Even when I came to Vancouver, I coached badminton in Richmond for like all levels. Yeah.
Wonderful.
And then
amazing.
Which I also call like my first movement practice.
Yeah, I was going to say. And also you're teaching, coaching, or like being aware of how other people approach something physical, as well. And battle, of course.
Yeah, competition, movement and training. And so that's
strategy.
Also maybe strategy, everything. Yeah, everything. Yeah. So that was the main thing, and I'm so grateful for OURO Collective for taking me in, because they didn't have to, and that was kind of, I always, like, I remember when I was 18, I was like, my dream is to dance popping in a theater. I tweeted that one time when I was 18, which was so funny. So it happened, and that was the main reason why I came to Vancouver.
I love it. I do think naming it like that and putting it out there in the world, well, there are 2 theories, right? There are 2 schools. One is that that's how you manifest something, is by being extremely particular and specific with yourself about all sorts of things. But then there's also the side that says, don't announce your plans, keep it a secret. Yeah. So there's 2. And I think when you're doing something that is pushing you into the public eye, or putting you into a zone, I think there is an element of holding yourself accountable for that goal. And then there are all the other things that we want in life that is much better to keep, a little bit inside, so we can kind of build also a resilience, right, towards and away from those things. So totally. I love that. Thanks for sharing that. That's wonderful. How did your family feel about you moving into dance?
Yeah, it was definitely a jarring experience. It was they didn't understand it, or even I have 2 older sisters, which is great. They're very educated, and they understood, because they're like, we did the education, so maybe it's okay for him to not and try and do these things. And so my sisters really helped, kind of not convince, but stick their head out for me to my parents, because it's often that's not even a question. Even when I talk to other street dancers that are trying to figure out if they want to dance or not, it's a big part of that is like how to do that, and if they actually want to do that. Yeah, that was something that was a jarring experience after doing it. Is that sometimes my parents were right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You don't admit it, but
yeah, and you're just so blind to the things that you don't know about the reality of maybe, let's say, being a dance artist or being a freelance dance artist. It's great. You can be an artist, or there's this funny thing. Everyone wants to be a creative director or a director, and then you try to do it, then you understand how hard and why there's so far few between. There's a certain type of like mentality. So even
and
after
support.
The first year, and support,
so much support,
support and luck and belief, and that's real as a young artist. So many people come to Vancouver. So many people from Calgary went to Vancouver, and now they're back in Calgary because they realize, like, actually, I don't want to be a dancer full time, and that's so valid, right? Like, it
really is. I'm talking to quite a few people at the moment in my current situation about it's okay to think about and to have something else. It's not you're not giving up on the dream if you are able to balance how you might be able to support yourself, or where the support will come from, in order for you to continue to pursue your dream. But pursuing the dream full time, I mean, who has the energy anyway? And what does that mean? Like, how long are you in this for? Like, what is the I've talked to a lot of artists in Canada and in the UK and in Europe about the longevity of a connection to the art form, not thinking of it as a full-time career profession. This is what I am. Like, we're just not in that reality. And even for those people who were, even back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, they were poor. They did not get paid to do that. They had the kudos or the status of being in an ensemble, but they were not paid for it. And in our society, it's like, it's so difficult. It's so expensive to live, you know, wherever people are, and especially with travel and those kinds of things. If that's what you want, it has costs, you know, emotional, economic, like political, it has costs. And so I think an awareness of that, like you're saying, is huge, and it changes it. It's changed the industry, and I think it's lovely what you're saying, that there's that awareness, and then there's your individual connection to the art form in the physical sense, and then there's the socio-economic, all of the other things that come with that. Kind of keeping a handle on all of those things is huge. But I will say, I do truly believe that if you've had any chance to be full-time in dance full-time, have it for even 5 years, 2 years of your life, it's going to transfer into other areas of your life in a way that is totally unique and holistic. So I do think, you know, we're lucky in that way to have that experience and that knowledge and the kind of unsaid but fully expressed sense of being in the world.
Totally.
I think it's amazing. And my family still doesn't understand what I do, and I do so many different things that are so close to communication and facilitation and all of these things that they do understand. But then when it comes back around to doing that in the dance world, they lose all comprehension of what that might be.
And I think now my relationship with my family and dance has been a lot better after 7 years. So I think that's like, it takes a bit of time. They're like, okay, so he's going to do it.
He's going to do it. Oh, well, he's doing it, right? He's actually doing this. And now, and so I wonder if, like, there's the winning awards, right? But the winning awards can see it two ways. It's a little bit like you were saying about the battle. You can go in thinking you're going to win. You can nominate, you know, be nominated, self-nominate for awards. But I think the positive side of that is community involvement and community recognition, yes. But I think it's more that the more people who are, like, applying for funding, the more people who apply, there's more of a sense of how big the community is, or how small, or how far the resources have to stretch or spread. And it's a way of us, like, being able to say to the world, this is how we're connected to this particular world. So totally. I think that's really interesting. So just to come back around to us talking about you being the recipient of the Iris Garland Emerging Choreographers Award at the moment and creating new work with that, I think it's really lovely that there's also a sense of you having a very clear idea about what your concept is for the work that you're creating. So I'd love to go from, I'm jumping around a bit, so
no worries.
But I'm interested in, one of the first things you said was about trying to get the things that were going on in your head out and into your body, or out of your head in or into the rest of the body, explicitly into the rest of the body. And then coming to the place where you're creating from concepts and creating full works that are in the contemporary dance milieu, putting the street dance on the stage, but it becoming part of your contemporary dance language and very much part of a contemporary dance language now. What was that transition for you? And I know also you're an interdisciplinary artist working with digital media and in the immersive technologies, you moving kind of through the VR, virtual reality, augmented reality worlds into immersive technologies, and then the competition world being really battles, and then bringing that into the language. All of these things I think you're still bringing into the contemporary dance world. Could you talk a little bit about how maybe your work in the digital, which maybe brought you into this concept world, maybe it didn't, but then where you find yourself now? Because I'm sure the OURO Collective is part of, well, not only was it part of your interest prior to even reaching out to them, but also, you know, there's a kind of influence there, or experience there, I should say.
Yeah.
Could you kind of bring us to that concept place?
Yeah. I think for sure OURO Collective was like the big leap into that world, and understanding like, okay, like you formulate a concept, you develop ideas, you research, you experiment, you test, you build, and you construct, and then you compose, and then you present. And that kind of like structure, but within that structure you can do whatever you want, was something very freeing. You know, knowing how to build something, but then knowing that you can deconstruct it and do whatever you want, was like, oh, like this is something that I was very interested in the process of, and learning how to make my own process within this kind of structure, I guess. And then it was funny because I made a film for a form called Ego, and that did well. And then on the street one day in Vancouver, I was walking down, someone said, "Hey, are you that guy on that film?" And he was actually works in VR and has his own game, and that was my first introduction into immersive or new technologies.
Wow.
Where he's like, "Do you want to dance in VR on the street?" Right out of Queenie Theater, actually.
Oh yes, outside on that. Yes.
Yeah, and I was just walking to my next like thing. I don't know, rehearsal maybe. And then I was like, okay, yeah, I'm interested. I'm always like, you know, my dad is a engineer, so he was always programming and in technology, and so it's funny that, you know, I am, although someone who drops out of education or university doesn't mean they're still studious. So I was very still interested in technology, but just also didn't have that entryway. And so that was my first introduction to VR, which led me into the whole world of like, oh, there's this, and then there's sensors, there's experiences, there's installation. This could be mixed with other disciplines or with dance. But mainly, you know, I was still in the battle because that's all I knew. And I was prepping to do a battle tour right when COVID hit. I wanted to go to I was saving up to go to Asia, Europe, the States, to do maybe out of the year, maybe 3 to 6 months, just battling. Because, you know, that's one of the things of a dancer in street dance. It's, especially if you are in your not prime, but if you are really eager to battle, you should do it, because it's something that you follow your intuition. But then obviously you can't travel during COVID. And that pivot to, in some ways, okay, if I can't do that, what can I do? And then I went into, you know, formulating what previously before COVID, I created a piece for Dance West Network for the residency called IYE. And that's a solo, 20-minute solo. So I created that piece before. So I was already into that kind of in my approach to the dance world is to do everything, to try to do everything and figure it out when I get there. Yeah. And then by throwing yourself in there, not thinking too much about it, you learn how to just do the thing that you're interested in and then figure out all the things. So for me, I'm just following what I'm interested in and then trying to learn about how to create something interesting or something that I would like to present in that world, if that makes sense. So yeah.
Well, I feel like it's just on a macro level of the idea of seeing a movement that you're interested in and trying to get it into your body, and then suddenly you go now this concept is something where these things, you know, it just kind of, it becomes a kind of home, if you like, or a kind of world for multiple movements or multiple kind of connections. I wonder have you ever learned about the immersive technology side on the kind of you actually making with that? Yeah. How's that for you?
I think, now I'm more deeper in it. Now I'm starting to be able to play with the tools more in an intimate way of okay, I want to construct this type of visual output. let's say we're doing projection mapping or this particular thing. But in the start, it was very much collaboration.
Yeah.
Finding people in the industry, because all these things, when we call it like different disciplines or interdisciplinary work or multidisciplinary work, each thing is a full-time job.
Absolutely.
And of course, when you're a dancer, you have to wear many hats, but then often you can't do everything. So you work with other people and you learn through that process, and then you get a little bit more and more comfortable. But it's very much about, but in ways, even though I can't program or do those things, I know the terminology that they communicate in, or I really try to make that leap so they don't have to make that leap. Yeah.
And do you do that so this is where I think the idea of the visionary or the kind of director, creative director comes in, right? That the knowing how to talk to your collaborators is also unique to each project, right? Or each collaboration, I suppose, in a way. And I just find that so rewarding, that coming up with the kind of vocabulary and language or syntax for a work when you're working together is like kind of so adaptive, and it can keep it really curious, but also creative. Like the language can also remain creative between the team. I think is really exciting. So will we see that in the Contra piece that you are creating, or would you like to talk a bit about that piece?
Yeah, Contra. So with these conceptual works, it's usually driven by concept and then fitting a particular medium or tools around the concept that would best suit the final presentation of it, or the final meaning, or how can we like emphasize a certain point. So this work is going to be utilizing projection mapping and interactive projection mapping, so tracking. So the movements will be tracked either visually or positionally. So things will be, if I move to one side of the stage, the other side of the stage, something will be following me, or something will be projected that is showing, for this work, the internal side, things that are not seen.
Because one of the concepts is this idea of cognitive dissonance, right?
Yeah.
Which I think is a beautiful, cross-disciplinary kind of, there's possibility for synchronicity and for radical juxtapositions, and for that intersecting and dividing of perspective, which I think lends itself beautifully to what you are working with.
Yeah, totally. I think the concept is about this innate desire of people wanting to find meaning or self-actualization or transcendence. So I'm very interested in this. And I think it's not it's both personal and also seeing other people.
Yeah.
I made a work called RE 1974, which is about my father's immigration journey. And so that's an example. This piece kind of stemmed there initially and then became wider, but it's also observing, everyone, even if it's not like I want to reach nirvana or something religious or become famous and have $100 million, even in the day-to-day, people are always trying to find meaning. That's like a human desire. And through that journey of like, okay, let's set out to do this, people always divide them. Divisions always happen, or contrasting, contradictory behavior. And I find like that's so interesting when someone goes for something, you get to see the real person. And I love that dissonance between that conversation between the person themselves or with other people in their environment. And that's also why the piece is a trio. It's a three, where the two other characters are not technically real. They're entities that represent extremes of a person, of a mortal, per se. Yeah.
So how are you building it at this point? And are you building it alongside other projects that you're working on? Are you is your time kind of split? Is it fractal?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always on multiple projects I'm always interested in many things and ambitious in that way. With this project, sometimes with mediums that are so massive, like technology, it can often take over.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a spectacle of, oh, that's a cool thing.
Absolutely.
and often actually I haven't done too many technological works, although because it can be a spectacle, or here's the latest technology, here's the new iPhone. Look at this new shiny object.
Yeah, look what it can do, and be hypnotized by it. And thank you very much for coming. Yeah.
But it's still movement forward, so I have this love-hate relationship with it, because it's also so finicky, and so I've been just trying to figure out really like the best way to not, I want to be bored of it, so I don't look at it as the main star, but as just a way to communicate it. So I'm always looking at it, do we even need it here? Or so with this project, where Contra is movement forward, movement first versus technology first.
Yeah.
And then fitting it to accentuate the movement.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Are you working with a collaborative team on this? Are you? Yeah.
Yeah, Christian Gonzalez is my main collaborator, and then we recently did installation work, some other interactive dance performance work, and then also Jack Chipman as the technical director to help put it into stage or theater black box context, because those are different worlds. Christian is kind of more of an installation. We did a laser installation called Array in Vivo Media Arts Center, which he's more experienced in installation work, like set work, versus theater is such a chaotic environment. Like, change this lighting cube, blah, blah. It's like quick, which is a very different world. So Jack is really good at knowing that world. So we're actually, this is our first project with Jack, combining the two worlds and seeing what will come out of it. Super excited.
Yeah, I feel like this kind of, the body mapping, tracking, all of these things are like just also, it's language, right? To use for the movement, to use for like spatial things as well as the technology side. But that's very exciting. And do you have a date?
For the premiere?
Premiere, yeah.
Yeah, it will be November 28th and 29th.
Yeah, great.
So very soon.
And it is literally the premiere. Yeah, that's very exciting. So may I ask what you are currently doing in Portugal?
Yeah, OURO Collective, we're on a tour.
Great.
We're at a festival here. We did one stop previous in Germany, but we're performing tomorrow, and then we come back on Sunday.
Fabulous. That's wild. Yeah, that's so good. Can I ask you about the Vancouver Street Dance Festival? Such a popular event for so long, but I understand that it's not happening anymore. I have a feeling that it's not happening anymore because it's just shifted. It's just evolved into something else. Am I right? Or has it just evolved into something else? Is that the plan? Is it going more indoors, perhaps? Like, how is that? Do you know anything about that?
I know the organizers, but I think it's mainly around, they have shifted to something else, and I don't want to speak fully about it, but I think like it often happens with there's a big battle that happened in Montreal called Busted Move, and after 15 years it also closed down shop. I think with festivals and things like this that happen for so long, it's hard to run it for so long, and funding and time commitment, these are usually not people's full lives to do it.
Yeah.
So I think I have a feeling that it's still there. It's just a matter of who's the next person who wants to really take the reign to do it again. And sometimes it's great to have breaks and fill the space.
One of the reasons why I wanted to mention it was because in some ways it feels appropriate for street dance, because there is this kind of issue sometimes with something becoming too institutionalized, and it existing for the sake of existing because it has since, whatever date. Yeah. And therefore it's just being kept alive so that it is not seen to fold. And then there is the excitement around shifting or having things come to an end to allow for something else to come out of it. And I genuinely feel that while lots of people I know have been upset and disappointed that it's not there anymore because of how accessible it was and how community building it was and how celebratory it was, I actually really appreciate that it's left room for change. And also it's the recognition of how much time it takes, how exhausting it is to operate something like this. And while, the rest of the year, people are planning it, not knowing whether hundreds of people will come and celebrate it, so it is a lot. It's a huge time commitment. And also, I think there is a beautiful thing about it, just recognizing that maybe Vancouver street dance needs a reset because so much of the street dance has been so successful, and so many of those dancers, including you and older generations, have moved into, they have helped create the contemporary dance world. And I think it's just a really exciting place to be at for Vancouver, I personally think. I mean, sometimes I'm a bit idealist, so... But I am a freelance person. I am a, independent choreographer. And so I love these shifting sands. I love this idea that it's made way for new markings and new,
And it's interesting, to say that with OURO Collective, we did 1 year of OURO Fest, which is we did a street dance festival, but we also presented stage works, and we're doing it again this year in mid-November. And we're not doing the battle side, but it might not have been a response to Vancouver Street Dance Festival leaving, but we are commissioning local street dancers to make stage works, often for the first time. And that's different. Yeah.
And I think what that does is recognizes the impression that VSDF has made, and also the impression that OURO Collective has made, and all of you have made, each individually in your way, and recognizing an opportunity to continue to support and offer and nurture. I think it's amazing. I think it's great. And I think it's a city. There should be more than one thing going on at once.
For sure, 100%.
I mean, genuinely, because everybody potentially can bring their own audiences to a certain degree. We shouldn't be relying on one audience for contemporary dance ever, So I find that all very exciting, and I feel like it's disruptive in a fantastic way. That's what we're supposed to be doing to a certain degree.
Yeah, of course. Got to take risks, for sure.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so great. So the only other thing is around teaching. I'd just love to mention or find out whether you teach, or whether how people might be able to not only access your work but connect with you, and maybe a little bit about that, and then we can maybe close it just talking about that, and your work in the community and things like that as well.
Yeah. And thank you for the great conversation. With teaching, I've taken a step back this fall, actually, because often teaching is like school time line, actually, often. Yeah. So I've actually taken a decent step back from that. I often teach at Modus Operandi, which David and then Tiff from Out Inner Space have given me residency there as well to create much of this work at Contra as well, and other works, and often get opportunities to teach there. I used to teach at Higher Ground Dance Company, which is a street dance company, specifically only just teach street dance, but I've stopped teaching. I'll be teaching a week in TSV, Training Society of Vancouver. Of Vancouver, yes.
Yeah, working class. I think that's right, anyway. Yeah.
It's a lot. I always say TSV.
It's many things. Yeah.
I
always say working class because I love it. I love that.
Working class, yeah, that's a great way to say it. Yeah. So I'll be doing that in mid-November. But I think I in a year ago exactly, I did a popping progressive, but it was mainly from a popping foundation, and then how do we go from popping foundation and make it totally different? And that class was very interesting for me as a research, but also to teach, and people were really interested in that versus a strict popping class. So I want to bring that back after finishing Contra. Sometimes for me, teaching is if I don't feel like there's anything new I can give, then I shouldn't teach. If I don't feel excited, I shouldn't do it because it's not right for the students. So
I love that.
I've just been working and researching these projects, and then after that, I'll have a lot of things to give and see how people will take it. And that's often how I do it. I teach a lot. Sometimes there's a phase where I taught maybe 6 times a week, and then but now I don't teach at all. So it's good. I think in the new year I'll get back into that, and if people want to follow that, I'll have it updated on my Instagram when those things come out. Yeah.
Wonderful. The life of a dance artist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thanks so much, Eric, for taking this time. It's been a real pleasure talking with you. I'm sure we'll talk again in the future as we move forward, but
for sure.
That's wonderful. So we'll look out for your show in November and its tour in the
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
See what happens, exactly. And are you still battling? Do you still battle?
I battled, and that's a funny thing is like now after going into the conceptual world, battling was my only thing, so I put so much value in it now. But I treat it almost the same as making a work or researching it. I just want to dance the way that I want to dance and show it. So I recently battled in I would say the biggest popping battle in Canada, Jack of all trades in Montreal, and still did well. And also, I'm at that spot where I just do anything and then see what happens, because you never know with battles. So
you're in it.
You're in it. I'm still in it. And I think that's I was talking to some street dancers. They were like, it's crazy to see what you do outside of the battle, but you're able to still battle. And I was like, yeah, if people don't think I'm a street dancer, they can battle me. and it's like, and that's a real thing, because it's like, I think that's very important to stay connected with the community, especially when you start saying you're going to show street dance on stage. You should be able to show the street dance in the way that people respect it in the community, from the community that you're doing it in, from it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
And I just want to tell you that while there's one prime of your life at a certain age, I think I'm finding my second prime. So hang on in there and go on the roller coaster ride as you are.
It's going to be a long journey.
I can see this. This is a long one. It's a long one, but you got the tools. So yeah.
Awesome.
Fabulous.
Thank you so
much. Thank you.
Yep.
Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for listening. We would love for you to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts, as this will help other listeners find us and help us to grow our dance audience. We'll be back next month. In the meantime, you can follow us on Facebook at The Dance Centre, Twitter at Dance Centre, and Instagram at The Dance Centre BC. And if you'd like to support our work, please consider making a donation. Just go to our website at thedancecentre.ca, where you'll find extensive information about our upcoming programs and events. The music for the Dance Centre podcast was composed by James B. Maxwell. Always a pleasure to connect with you through dance. Until next time.